I just think like the punt return thing. I've said this to you,
Hmm.
like real time. Everybody talks about all the things that Nebraska get needs to do better on their special teams. If I could fix one thing, I'm telling you, I
You think it's special teams?
no, I think
Or
it would be
yeah,
of the
just punt
special
return.
teams particular. I'd go with punt return.
Michael did bring up a really good point about
Are you
just.
place kicking or punting?
I'm gonna take the points.
Some people like the punter too.
Yeah, I mean, I get the impact of a punter,
Is there a
especially.
wrong answer? I feel like punt return we have the least amount of answers.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's a wrong answer because it's basically the same argument as the punter, right? Of hey, you can change field position,
Mhm. And I just think
and there's higher
people
upside.
concede it too much.
Yes, it's a
Oh, just get the ball back for offense, play it safe.
market inefficiency,
I'm
right?
like,
Like you can
really?
you can make hay there where nobody else is trying to. Um, I'm just gonna take the points.
You want the place
Yeah,
every okay.
I want to like Coach Rule saying, if I'm inside the 25, I want to know that.
You from that those clips,
Yeah,
you can see how he wants to play offense.
yeah. Like if I get to the 25, I want to know that's
Yeah,
points.
that's points.
If I get to the 30, I want to feel pretty good about it, right? Outside of that, I can kind of live with coin flips outside the 30. But if I get to the 25, 30 yard line, I better score.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take the place kicking, but I do and I think it is stylistically dependent, right? Like if you're going to play like Iowa, the punter becomes dramatically more important, right? And they're like, hey, yeah, no team in the country is going to go 85, 90 yards on us consistently. So we're going to make them do that every drive.
Mhm.
Like that's incredibly valuable if you're Iowa, right? A punt return team or a punt returner on a team that maybe struggles to get 4, 5, 6 first downs on a drive, a punt returner becomes really valuable. I mean, that's the one thing people didn't really talk about with.
I mean, how many kicks does Rutgers block a year? 4?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to blocking kicks yet.
Well, that's part of it, but the other way though,
Yeah,
right? Like
those are the probably the biggest effect for the least amount of times you do it, right? You block like 2 or 3 kicks in a year, people are always thinking about that,
yeah.
right? They go
I
max per.
remember Nebraska blocked 2 punts in a game and lost. Now they got one blocked,
Yeah,
but I'm like,
how
statistically, that doesn't happen very
almost
often.
ever, right? And you can talk about you want to go back to like a Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech, you want to go back to Bobby Bowden in his early days at Florida State,
Kyle Whittingham.
Kyle
There's
Whittingham
some
at
guys.
Utah, Bill
Shiano.
Snyder at Kansas State.
Yeah.
They turned around bad programs on special teams, but specifically getting after kicks. Like so, there's a moment.
And I know Nebraska, like it's a coach rule thing, right? He
Yeah.
wants to block kicks.
Well, there's a kind of a demoralizing
It is.
factor
It
there
is.
about it, right?
100%.
And so that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say for the amount of times you do it, it has the most lasting impact. Because, like I said, you block 2, 3 kicks a year. Because that's usually all you're talking about, right? You're not blocking a kick every game or even every other game.
Unless you're Demario Williams or Baron Miles.
Yeah, unless you're some kind of a freak show, right?
Yeah, Demo was sick.
But
No, you're exactly right.
unless you are like, if you're blocking like a kick every 3 or 4
How many did
games,
Farley get?
uh,
Fudge.
yeah, probably a couple. He got a couple.
I mean, we went after those things like crazy.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
Like what? Like what's
Because I don't know. You gave me the impression people don't like to coach special teams a couple months ago.
I don't think they do.
Stop.
But no, what I'm not saying they shouldn't. Because I agree.
I think they do.
I think some people. I don't think they overlook it. Like I don't think they think they overlook it. I think they do. Like you ever met somebody that thinks like, oh no, I work hard at that, and then you like see what they actually do, and you go, oh no, you don't.
Yes.
We used to do this. So this is a
Yes.
when I guys that used to coach in basketball all the time. They're like, Coach, I'm in the gym every day. And then I see them in the gym and they're like in flip flops, getting lazy shots up and taking like half quarters and messing around with their friends in their pajamas.
Well, who had the great story? It was Anthony Edwards, right? When he worked out for Golden State.
Yeah, where they're like, he's like, they're like, yeah, that's you're not working hard enough.
Yeah. And he's like,
Right.
wait, what?
Or, you got all the stories from the 2008 Olympic team where they see how Kobe works and they're like, oh God, like we're not doing that.
Mhm.
But I would literally have guys tell me all the time, Coach, I'm in the gym like 2, 3 hours a day. They're in there in like socks. Like they're not even wearing basketball shoes, and they think they're getting work in.
That seems a little extreme.
No, I literally like I swear it was socks and like the slides. They're in their pajama pants in socks and slides, thinking they're getting work in.
It's ridiculous.
Like not breaking a sweat. Half the time they don't take their backpack off. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you are in the gym. You're correct. You weren't lying to me. You are not getting work in. Like, well, I mean, what do you mean, coach? I mean, it's better than nothing. It's more than this guy's doing. And this guy, the other guy they're comparing themselves to, is this like 23-year-old kid we had as a transfer that would come in for a half hour a day, go just bananas for half an hour, like
Mhm.
would go hard, game speed shots, half hour, boom, he's done. That guy was getting work in.
Yeah.
And these other kids that were like, oh man, I'm in the gym 2-3 hours a day. It's like, no, you're not.
I don't know, man.
That's what I think special team. So like to my point,
What was the biggest Denny Downer of that whole open practice? It was special teams, right?
I don't. Why do you say that?
Of the open practice that we went to?
Yeah.
You don't think that people were like, "Oh my gosh, what's with the punting? Oh my god." Like you didn't get that vibe?
I'll be honest, I wasn't watching a ton of the punting.
Oh shit.
I was watching quarterbacks and I was watching line.
So what'd you do during specialties?
I was watching the kicks, the field goal kickers, the place kickers. I told you I'm about the points. Give me the points.
I hear you.
I was
Oh my
watching,
gosh.
I was watching the field goal kickers,
Okay.
but they were pretty good. They made a bunch.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I listen. You know,
yeah, you only have so much
Right,
bandwidth,
yeah.
right?
I do like. So I don't think I told this on air. It kind of, it took me a minute to kind of like calibrate, right? Because I don't know that I haven't watched a college football practice before, right? Certainly not one of this style. And it took me a minute. Like I had to calibrate it back to like, okay, when I was coaching basketball and we had, you have some of those gyms, you have like 10 hoops,
Mhm.
right? So you've got guys, especially if you're doing like we would have early in the season, we would have joint JV varsity practices. And so you got like 40 guys in the gym at 10 different hoops. And so like if you're not like dialed in, you don't see anything.
Mhm.
Right. So it took me a couple minutes to be like, okay, this is just like basketball practice. I got to decide what I'm watching and then just tune everything else out. Otherwise, you will get nothing from this experience at all.
Yeah.
So I had to, I was pretty tunnel visioned on the stuff I was watching.
So can I go back to something though about the style of offense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You just want to be efficient with it, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can win doing anything, like legitimately anything. You pick an offensive style, and if you are efficient at it, you can win. As long as it is complementary to the rest of the way you play football. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, like you could tell me I was on this big kick when Georgia Tech was running the triple option still.
Yeah, you were a lot of people love Paul Johnson.
And people are like, oh, you can't win big that way. And they went to an Orange Bowl and like beat the heads in of some SEC team. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Tennessee or somebody. But they went to an Orange Bowl and they dominated an SEC team. They won like 10 or 11 games that season, including the bowl game. And I'm like, okay, but Georgia Tech doesn't recruit well. It's an incredibly hard place to get players because of the academic standards. And they haven't even necessarily recruited that well to this style yet. And you're able to go out and win a bunch of games. Now, I know the entire Paul Johnson tenure ended badly at Georgia Tech, but like I believe anything can work if you operate it efficiently at a high level and it complements your defense. Like I fully believe that. You can't tell. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, you can't win with an air raid." It's like, "Yeah, you can if you do it right." It's like those people that said you couldn't win with certain styles of basketball. Like, "Oh, you can't win in the NBA if you're a jump shooting team or whatever." If you like, no, everything works if you're efficient at it. Everything.
I just think I'm just looking at long-term sustainability, and I think
so. That's a different question.
And I'm assuming that a staff that's shown a propensity to be able to recruit at a fairly decent level, that can develop at a fairly decent level, and I'm sure it's varying degrees in which people want to debate it.
I mean, I don't think you can debate it at Baylor. or Temple for that matter.
So what I care about the most is like stacking wins, because I think you're going to be good at that part anyway.
About the recruiting and development?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I've said this before. Like 8 wins, they turn into monsters.
Recruiting, yeah, I agree. If they have any proof of concept to point to, it's gonna get a little nutty around here. And I fully believe that. I also think, we were talking about kind of these close losses and how it kind of gets in people's brains a little bit with Sam. And
I do think we speak it into existence.
I mean, so I think both things can kind of be true. Like, as a fan base, do we talk about it
What
too
was
much?
the clip floating around for the last 2 days? It's Coach Rule talking to the guys about why they lose close games.
Yeah. But that it's also,
which, by the way, lacks context, but that's neither here nor there.
Who needs context?
Apparently,
it's not important. What does context get you?
It's not as sexy, I guess.
But like,
nah,
I do think we speak it into an existence to a certain extent. I also think it's probably something that it affects some players in their, like, mentally. Like, I would be shocked if it's not something that some of those guys think about. But going back to proof of concept, if you're able to get one, remember all the way back last year, almost exactly a year ago, didn't Coach Rule say something to the fact of like, I kind of hope they take the first kickoff back for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. So they had to figure out how to.
Yeah. Because he knows that they have to do it once so that they can point to it and be like, hey, look, something bad happened. You're still here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, something bad happened. We still won. We got behind the 8, but we got down 10 points and came back. Like, he was talking about this with the quarterbacks the other day, where he goes, hey, the difference between the great guys, the great quarterbacks, and the average quarterbacks. Okay, what does it look like when things start to go wrong?
Yeah.
If you're even decent, you should be able to function when things are going right in anything, right? Not just quarterbacks or football or whatever, right? If you're just not terrible at whatever it is you're doing, if things are going right, it's pretty easy to function. What does it look like when things start to go sideways on you? That's the thing Nebraska hasn't been able to navigate in a decade.
Which is funny because it's kind of what I was listening to Ryan Day talk about with Julian saying is, he said, well, he certainly doesn't want his hand held. Like, that was what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He's a guy that is not wanting to take it slow. And I just wondered, like, what that would look like. But I do know why you would be drawn to it. Because
as a coach?
Yeah. Because that would come across as somebody that is like,
well, it's like the one thing you're drawn to the most.
Pretty much.
Is guys that don't need their handheld.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, if I give you,
and this is coming from somebody that likes to teach.
Yeah.
But I just need to know,
teaching and holding hands is different.
It's like I love the development part of getting people and players better, whether it's mentally or physically, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoy seeing people flourish. It's that, okay, now that we've invested this time, I'm just telling you, to be highly successful,
mm-hmm.
you can't need people to talk to you all the time.
Yeah.
You can't need people to validate you all the time. So you just have to do the right thing, even if nobody else is.
At some point, the teaching stops, right? Like, there's still the coaching at that point.
What did we talk about yesterday with Princewell?
The prize process.
What we talk about with quarterback development, it's you have to fall in love with the process, right? Like,
you have to be a little bit of a weirdo.
How many of us enjoy doing the same thing every day at a competitive maximum level?
Not a ton.
There you go.
Not a ton.
And it's an even thinner divide amongst like-minded people that are separators. So it doesn't sounds kind of like an oxymoron out loud. But the more people that you have that are competing at something, the finer the sharper the cutoff is for those that are willing versus those that aren't.
Ooh, okay.
It declares very, very early.
Okay.
It's easy to see. So even amongst guys that are competing every day, you can see,
tell.
yeah.
who's about that life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It's very apparent.
Yeah.
Even though to begin with, you have more people that should possess that quality.
Well, so here's the thing I think is a misnomer is we assume talented people have that quality in greater measure than
I would be in complete agreement with that.
right?
Yeah.
And that's why we get mad at some of those people because we think they're wasting.
What
it.
do you do? Yeah. What are you doing with those? That like,
They think-
do you know what I would do with
They
that?
think we think they owe it to us.
Yeah.
To
show resolve
maximize
because we have resolve because we're not as talented.
yeah, because we have resolve with our lack of
that
talent.
is so funny because it's not even true, to be
No.
honest. Because
A, they don't owe you anything, and B, having talent in no way
and
predicts the mental side of
and
it.
typically the more talented you are,
The less resolve
the less
you've had to
resolve
be.
you need.
Well, and the less resolved you've had to be
Yeah.
to get to the point where you are.
Yeah, well, it's
Right? It's the thing we talk about with, guys that are like, well, hey, I've been pretty successful just to get here. Why are you coming in and asking me to change all this? It's like, well, because if you want to continue to be successful, like talent's like there's not very many guys that just on pure talent can end up being
okay.
in the NFL.
Do you think
whatever.
that's something to Nebraska's recruiting philosophy on how they like to develop, like what they're looking for in a starting point?
In terms of
The people that they want to recruit.
100%. I think like
You're not recruiting less talented guys
No.
intentionally, though.
No, I don't think they view it as Coach Rule talked about this. He doesn't view it as like diamonds in the rough or less talented guys or whatever. He sees, okay, they've got the best like physical database in the world, they think, right? And I don't have any reason to disagree with them. So they've got all these data points, right? Where it's like, okay, if this guy can hit these, let's just call it 10 data points.
Certain benchmarks, we got the rest.
Yes. If because I bet there's a bunch of guys that hit those data points. I bet it's the conversations that they have with people.
Can they do it every day?
Like mentally.
Yeah.
Because
that's for sure.
Right. So those are the guys that we see, whether it's like, was it like Quinn Clark who had like D2 offers and nothing else?
Yeah.
And Nebraska's like, yeah, we're going to take that guy. Or whoever else. These guys that Nebraska comes in, don't have any offers. And Nebraska, like Jeremiah Charles or Bryce Turner.
I remember when people were a little afraid or scared off by Quinn Clark because he intimated that he had to convince himself that he was worthy.
Mm-hmm. Everybody does, though.
And I'm like,
no, everybody does.
And so here's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
He just said that part out loud.
Yes.
Most people don't.
Because
because I'm listening to that. Sometimes when people act like that, that may shake me. And I'm like, nah.
Everybody thinks that.
I've been around enough. Like
everybody thinks that.
If you're around enough people.
And if you don't think that, you're probably not as good as you think you are.
He's like, hey, man, like,
what did Rule say at Big Ten Media Days to us?
Like
the two bears. What was the first bear?
Well, you got to kill. Like you belong. Like you can do this.
That
yeah,
you can do this.
I belong.
You think he would say that if that wasn't something that almost every player he had experienced?
Yeah.
Quinn Clark just said it out loud.
No.
The second bear was Rule, which was funny. But like the first bear was, hey, yeah, you can act. You're good enough for this.
Yeah.
You can do this. You belong here.
It's just sometimes it's interesting how I said it yesterday about a guy that I think can win a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I can't be your biggest fan, but at some point you have to know that you belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he got it. He's extremely capable, but sometimes you kind of look around and you read the walls and there's a lot of heart. I'm like, hey man, like you're here, aren't we?
What do you think the difference today is between Cam Lenhart and Prince Will?
Like in lay terms?
Yeah.
The ability to repeat the same thing every day.
Would you say Prince Will is more talented than Cam Lenhart physically?
Yeah, I would say if I had to like pick an upside guy.
Yeah.
Or a guy that I would pull off the shelf first. Yeah.
Like a bus guy.
Yeah, I'd take Prince Will.
Yeah. Cam is ahead of him, I think, right now.
Yeah.
Because he's an 8 every day. He's a 7 or an 8 every day.
You can hear it in Cam's delivery.
Yeah. Well, he looks like an adult. I don't know if that's part of my he looks like he's
But
40.
he knew it though. He wanted to be what I call the two-way guy. You call him an every down guy.
Yeah, the 3 down guy, whatever. Yeah,
he doesn't want to be the situational guy.
Nobody's taking him off the field.
That's the way he trained.
He doesn't want anyone to take him off the field.
Yeah. What? Even MJ Sherman.
Yeah.
You can only tell him about his fitness for so long
before he's like, all right, we got this.
Yeah, and then you look around at the Jack room and it's like
all of a sudden,
yeah, we got some guys in here. Man, I gotta
get going.
Go listen to MJ Sherman talk.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good poster child for emotional and physical development.
Yeah.